Hello, my YouTube family. This is the OG Crypto New Jack coming at you with some juicy news. But before I begin, let me say I'm not a financial advisor. Anything you see or hear in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Remember to do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making investment decisions. Okay, let's begin looking at the total crypto market cap, and it is at 1.25 trillion, and it is up 0.7%. Coming in at number one is Bitcoin at 29,952. Coming in at number two is Ethereum at 1,898. My beloved XRP is coming in at number four at 78 cents. Taking a look at crypto bubbles, it looks like Maker is up 11.3 and GMX is down 6.3 for our biggest loser. Moving on to the Fear and Greed Index. It's coming in neutral at 50. And here we have a tweet from Squawk Box. This is Mike Novogratz, Mr. Dimes to Donuts. He's come a long way. Let me just play the video.
Hey, Michael, I'm sure since so many folks in crypto land were following this decision related to Ripple, I wanted to get your thoughts and comments on it and whether you think it has any demonstrable impact in terms of how the SEC and how Congress and how others think about these things.
It has to force the Democrats, the White House and Gensler to the table to start negotiating fair rules. Like it was just.
Was this a win? I mean, maybe we should explain for the audience. Maybe Michael, you probably do a better job than I can. What the decision was, because some people looked at that decision as a win for Ripple, and others said actually maybe it wasn't.
No, it was a big win for Ripple, and it was a big win for the crypto community. Like, let's not let Gary Gensler put lipstick on a pig. They lost, and they know it. And at best, the judge said, okay, now you're going to, if the SEC wants to litigate, you're going to have to litigate every token separately and every use of that token separately. And so the current status quo isn't going to work for the SEC. Listen, they could appeal. Appeals take a long time. We can stay in court for years. But I think the message that I want to give that is really clear was what Gary's been saying, that the rules are clear, just isn't true. It's not true at all. And that judge said that exactly. Right? This is really complicated. We need regulation that makes things clear. And it's not that complicated.
There we go, boys. The gloves are off. Okay, nice to see he has finally seen the light. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Jimmy Valley. He wrote, there are a series of documents and agreements that constitute the investment contract for Ethereum. Number one, Ether product purchase agreement. Number two, terms and conditions of Ether Genesis sale. Number three, intended use of revenue. Number four, Ethereum development plan. Number five, white paper. Number six, the yellow paper. I don't know how this is going to work out. I honestly don't think there will be a lawsuit brought against Ethereum, nor do I want to either. I just think that they're too well connected. Too many of the people who are making those decisions are also involved in the disguised whales of their ICO and all that. So I don't think this is going to happen. And like I said, I want everyone to do well. There's enough room for everybody to thrive, except the shit coins and meme coins. Other than that, the utility case coins are going to do well. Okay, here we have Richard Torres. He put out Judge Annalisa Torres' decision in the Ripple case establishes what I call the TORRES doctrine, rejecting the SEC chair Gary Gensler's indiscriminate assault on crypto. Digital assets aren't securities in themselves, but can be part of an investment contract, which are securities. This is one of the few in Congress that get it. Here's another one. Shout out to Warren Davidson. He says, I join my colleague in calling for Gary Gensler to embrace a different approach. The Ripple case should make clear that Congress needs to provide clarity that is lacking for investors, innovators, regulators, and even the courts. I remain hopeful that we can agree on a digital asset market structure bill that will do this appropriately and swiftly. Nice to see. Okay, shout out to Metalawman. He writes, has anyone else noticed that the attacks on Judge Torres and her Ripple decision have been pretty tame, all things considered? No mean tweets from Senator Warren, no apparent mobilization of the anti-crypto army, no scathing editorial in the New York Times. This makes sense. And he's 100% correct. Here is John E. Dean. He writes, the TORRES doctrine, as it has been called, is simply a strict application of a 1946 test to modern-day blockchain technology. Judge Torres did a strict application of the Howey test to each type of XRP sale the SEC claimed violated the law. And on the bottom is a continuation from the previous tweet I was reading with Metalawman. He writes, Judge Torres was appointed to the federal bench by President Barack Obama. This has all helped to lower the temperature around this important ruling. Nobody believes Judge Torres is out to help the crypto bros. She just applied the law without fear or favor. Well done, and I 100% agree. Shout out to the Wrath of Kahneman. Why did Ripple invest in the 54 million Series A of FutureVerse? FutureVerse runs the root network, an EVM-compliant network that uses XRP for validator rewards, staking, gas fees, and NFTs. That and FutureVerse rolled up 11 infrastructure companies. Nice to see. Ripple's still growing. Shout out to 801 XRP. He writes, G20 Gahandagar, I hope I didn't mess that up, meeting July 18, 2023, speaking on digital public infrastructure. Ministers and governors commended India's efforts in leveraging GPIs to accelerate financial inclusion in the last mile. FSB regulations, recommendations, financial sector issues, all things crypto. The world is moving in that direction. Shout out to Watchaguru. Just in, U.S. senators officially introduced a bipartisan bill to ban members of Congress from owning and trading stocks. Okay, that is very interesting. Moving on, shout out to Mr. Man. He put out global transfers are now free in Canada with CIBC, one of Ripple's many partner. Locations listed below: India, Philippines, China, USA. And wow, that's the site that you don't see too often. Send money globally with zero transfer fee. Nice. Moving on. Okay, this is Chad Steingraber, and we're going to go back to back with Chad. He is just putting out a lot of fire. Okay, if you think they didn't plan to release this video on the same day as the launch of FedNow, I got an igloo in Florida to sell you. Cross-border ready. All right, guys, I got a little secret. Do not buy that igloo. Okay, don't even think about it. All right, Chad, moving on. So what happens next? I suppose you're wondering. 10,000 plus FedWire participants begin the migration in August, September. Daily limits will go up. Volume will go up. Providers push more and more through it. Okay, I'm beginning to see the picture. Okay, moving on. Here comes the law. Committee introduced Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act. The House Committee on Agriculture, Chairman G.T. Thompson. And at least this is a step in the right direction, even though there's something that I heard about the bill that I'm not 100% too keen on, where they have a limit as to how much the maximum you can invest, which is like 10%. So if you make $100,000, the most you can invest in a digital asset is $10,000. That's the only part that I believe I'm not really too crazy about. I don't like limits. You should be free to invest as much as you want, but I'm not going to knock it too much. At least it's a bill. We're getting some sort of regulatory framework, and it's better than nothing. Okay, moving on. On that note, it says here, this is interesting. Crypto exchanges to become digital commodity exchanges like virtual oranges. So this is a very good sign, taking the crypto space essentially out of the hands of the SEC and putting it into the CFTC, where it says here, registered with the commission, subsection E1 shall continue to apply to a person who has submitted a notice of intent to register while the person is registered with the commission as a digital commodity exchange. So that is a nice thing to see. And here we have documenting Ripple put out breaking. New bill confirms cryptocurrencies are not securities. The SEC has lost the war. Treatment of certain digital assets sold pursuant to an investment contract. A digital asset sold or transferred or intended to be sold or transferred pursuant to an investment contract is not and does not become a security as a result of being sold or otherwise transferred pursuant to that investment contract. It pretty much just cuts out the SEC and takes it out of the equation. Okay, James K. Phelan put this thing out. This Week in Congress and Crypto from Ron Hammond, who says the Ripple case has made a huge impact on the politics of bills, and that is 100% correct. Okay, Johnny Dean also chimes in and says, finally, the U.S. enters the game, because Eleanor Tourette put out the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act was introduced today by Congressman G.T., Rep. French Hill, and Rep. Dusty Johnson. The bill establishes a regulatory framework for digital assets. Here is the full context, and you can look it up if you want to, but it looks like, compared to how Washington and Congress, the speed where they moved compared to now is just complete 180-degree turn, night and day difference. It used to take them years to get anything done, and for the first time, I actually believe they're actually going to get it done. They, compared to how they used to move, they are moving at the speed of light now compared to the past. So I'm glad Congress is finally moving in the right direction. Okay, shout out to the digital asset investor for this tweet. He writes, classic moment right when the Ripple ruling news hits. Jason, you're not going to figure this thing out in real time. It's too complicated. The bottom line is, the headline is, they won. Let me play the video.
Because the purchasers did not have a reasonable expectation of profit tied to Ripple's effort? Okay. Those sales were blind bid ask transactions, she said, where the buyers could not have known if their payments, I'm reading from Reuters here, of money went to Ripple or any other seller of XRP. Interesting. So the buyer becomes the person who profits from it becomes the fulcrum here. XRP sales on cryptocurrency platforms.
I mean, Jason, you're not going to figure this out in real time. This is too complicated. The bottom line is that the headline is...
I just want to make sure the audience gets it. Yeah.
Look, the headline is, I mean, the tweet, Ripple sales of XRP do not constitute offer of investment contracts, according to Judge. They won. This is a huge vindication for them. And the XRP is ripping 35%.
Yeah, and it really handcuffs the SEC. What are they going to do about Coinbase and every other exchange? I mean, if they're not selling securities, I think Coinbase and everybody else has always maintained they're selling tokens. This was the fulcrum argument for the SEC, and they just lost.
The whole crypto market is ripping right now.
Exactly. I think those guys are finally beginning to see the light as well. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Danelle Dixon. She writes, on and off ramps. We talk about it a lot at Stellar, but on and off ramps are the key to real world utility. It doesn't matter how fast we can send or receive money on the blockchain if it still takes 3 to 5 business days to access your funds. And that is a point that is well taken, and she's 100% correct. And she goes on to say, by improving the last mile delivery of money in the US, we might be witnessing the dawn of a new era in payments that plays to the strengths of both blockchain and institutions, whether they realize it or not. And that's a point that David Schwartz has also mentioned, that last mile, and it's good to see that we're all hopefully getting there soon. This is Johnny Dean. He writes, this scammer with a blue check mark has 33K followers. Elon Musk, Twitter support, please help. So folks, the scammers are out in full force, especially, well, they've always been out there, but ever since the ruling came down, they've been out in full force. So be careful. Do not click on links. There's no one going to give you more crypto. No one's going to double your crypto. If you send them 5,000, they're going to send you back 10,000. It's a scam. Nobody is going to do that. Do not click on links. Don't fall for this. It is a scam. And on that same note, David Schwartz put this thing out. Caution, holdxrp.com is a scam site. So like I said, the scammers are out in full force. Be careful. Do not lose your XRP. Okay, here we have XRP Crow status. He writes, Ripple's grand plan. Ripple is working on a replacement for SWIFT, how to get all of the payment providers onto ILP, and how to use XRP as on-demand liquidity. This is a quote from Chris Lawson. Let me play the video.
Rather than being an internet system. So we need that internet of value to be developed. And that's what we spend our time working on, is a replacement for SWIFT and correspondent banking. How do you get all of the payment providers, all of the wallets onto ILP, and then how to use XRP as on-demand liquidity so that all of these providers don't have to keep balances all over the world because the process is so inefficient. And we think that's the winning kind of killer app. And then I think you, last group talked about Cambrian explosion. Yeah. Then you get that Cambrian explosion.
Exactly. All the pieces are falling in place. Okay, moving on. Shout out to XRP Darren. He had an interview with the one and only attorney Jeremy Hogan, and he has a lot of interesting insight. Let me play this part of the video.
The head of the SEC at the time. I mean, a lot can happen in 2 years. It just drags this whole process out. I think the problem with the settlement before now is, I think that my guess is that the SEC was going to Ripple and saying, we'll settle with you, but you have to register all of your XRP as a security moving forward. And that destroys Ripple's business model. So I don't think that it was really in the works. Now that we have I guess a non-security designation, that might change. The chance of a settlement, this case just went up tenfold. This case just went up tenfold. This case just went up tenfold, from Wednesday until now. So we'll see what happens. There could still be a settlement in the works.
You heard it there, folks. Out of the words of Jeremy Hogan, the chances of settlement just went up tenfold. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Crypto Aries. She put out this other part of that interview with Jeremy Hogan. So shout out to everyone involved. The best 29 seconds you'll hear today, and I 100% agree with that statement. Here we go.
And she ruled on this XRP is not a security in a very interesting way. She quoted other cases which say kind of the same thing. And so it's called dicta because it's not an essential part of her order, but it is in there. I don't think you can appeal that. I don't think that's appealable. I really don't. I don't think that any appellate court can touch that part of the order which says XRP in and of itself is not a security, which is really what's important for the XRP holders. And
boom, there you heard it for yourself, folks. I'm not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV, but attorney Jeremy Hogan is one, and in his professional opinion, that part, even if the SEC were to appeal, that part, which is the most important part, that XRP is not a security, is not appealable. So the SEC is going to be SOL on that one. So we're looking good, fam. We are looking good. Well, okay, that's going to do it for today's video. If you found this video to be helpful, would you please smash the like and subscribe? I would really appreciate it, and it doesn't cost you anything. Thank you much in advance. And in the words of Snoop Dogg, keep your mind on your money and your money on your mind. Peace out, fam.